Today, we got Trading Economics reporting that mining production in South Africa shrank by 8% year-on-year in June, a further slowdown in the negative territory after 7.8% decline in the month of May. It marked the 5th consecutive month of a downturn in mining activity, pressured by load shedding and a 3-month strike in the gold sector. But it's not all bad news, as it were. So let's bring in Chris Hart, the executive chairman at Impact Investment Africa, for some insight into the new mining report. Thanks for making the time on the show tonight, as always. I'm sure you were much younger, Chris, when Diamonds Are Forever, James Bond, was released. I'm sure you remember that.
We remember that. That was a very good show, and we enjoyed that. And the Diamonds are still with us. And I think, the gold, however, seems to be no longer with us. The production in South Africa has been declining now for decades. It really did peaked in 1970 with over 1,000 tons produced. South Africa produced more than 70% of the world's gold at that particular time. Has now dipped around to the 100-ton mark. The production is continuing to decline because the mines are actually they are being depleted. There's a lot of gold that's left to mine, but it's really marginal reefs that are there. And with the changes in policy, etc., there's no investor appetite to invest in deep level mining anymore. And so the potential is there, but it will not be released, and you're going to have quite a lot of sterile assets in the ground that haven't been mined as a result of policy changes from the previous government to this government, which is a pity, because the industry really has got important multipliers in the economy. And the gold price is fairly buoyant. The mines these days are actually generating some profits, and I think there's certainly some investment merit. But I think the appetite for deep level mining, especially with safety issues, is not there. The strike didn't help. Load shedding is not helping either. And basically, it is an industry that we call a sunset industry at this stage.
Okay, so Chris, what is the greatest challenge to the mining sector in South Africa right now? Some of the factors highlighted in that report was that there was a 3-month strike, but that was also part of the issue in the month of May when the numbers came out back then, as well as load shedding by Eskom. So, are there other factors here?
Load shedding has a huge effect on the mines that depend on the electricity supply from Eskom. Where you've got mines that are run, let's say open cast mine that are run by machines, or that is more dependent on machinery than electricity supply as such, they've managed to hold up because prices generally in the global economy have been good. We are riding a wave in terms of commodity prices. And I think that's why we've got copper output is up, chrome output is up. Chrome is becoming increasingly an important source of revenue in terms of the proportion that it's taking. And I think with the Ukraine war that's taking place, coal prices are also holding up quite nicely, and the coal mining industry, despite its bad rap from the environmentalists, is experiencing at least a mini resurgence. But a lot of the issues that we're chatting about are short-term operational issues. The big concern is the overall investability of the mining industry from the big players. They are tending to disinvest from South Africa. They see South African assets as orphan assets in their portfolio, and are divesting, and that is unfortunately a factor of the longer term policy issues that have made South Africa a less desirable investment destination as far as the big investors
Chris,
the houses.
This is a fifth consecutive month of decline. Is this likely to continue? Why is South Africa's gold production declining while diamond and copper outputs are jumping?
Well, I think the gold mining industry was hit the hardest by the actual strike. And so that basically was the strike, and then the load shedding also. A lot of the other minings, like the coal miners, for instance, a lot of them are open cast and are not as affected by load shedding, even though the actual use of coal is important in the electricity production. But I think a lot of we are still exporting a lot of coal, and it is an important part of our export mix at the moment. In terms of the decline, I think we will see it pick up in the months to come, as long as we don't see more strikes and load shedding, and that's just from a cyclical operational point of view that we will see it pick up. The mining industry, to a large extent, wasn't too badly affected by the latter half of the COVID regulations. They were able to operate, but with restrictions, and I think so. A recovery, further recovery from that side is not really in the cards. I think it's mainly the rebound from the intensive load shedding that we've seen. Then the load shedding has eased up a little bit over the past few weeks, and that will help mining production. And the strike has also come to an end, and that will also help mining production going forward.
Okay, my last point, very quickly away from mining to manufacturing data for June was a lower 52.2 reading. What was the latest? What's your outlook on all this putting together for South Africa's GDP for the year based on current issues around load shedding and things like that?
Well, what's interesting is that IMF has not downgraded South Africa's GDP, and I think to an extent there's still a post-COVID recovery from the lockdown measures. Things like tourism are starting to pick up again quite nicely, and the war in Ukraine has actually looked at in terms of the global supply issues, to actually look at countries, especially in the southern hemisphere, to actually fill up some of the production losses that are no longer coming from Ukraine, like your in terms of food and also energy. And so it's I do think that the economies like South Africa are riding the global wave at the moment, and for that reason you'll see the economy relatively buoyant, but relatively buoyant still means 2 to 3% growth, and receding back to the 1% growth once the buoyancy comes away. The fact that the US is in recession is not great for South Africa either, because US demand is still a very, very important factor in the global economy. And the Chinese economy has definitely started to slow, and that may also impact on South Africa's growth in the future. But right now, South Africa is riding a little bit of a crest of a wave, a little bit dampened by load shedding and the strikes in the industry, but otherwise it has helped to spur at least some growth at the grassroots level.
Okay, Chris Hart, Executive Chairman at Impact Investment Africa. Let's leave it there for tonight. Thank you so much for making the time into the latest mining and manufacturing report out of South Africa. Thank you so much, and see you next time.